We're live, Alicia.
We are live right now with our fancy music.
Reach goals. Yeah, I'm putting it out to let everybody know. Young Solomon,
Dr. Courtney, here we
feed,
go.
feed
Oh,
with the Sharks.
do you want to tell us about the song?
Yeah. Welcome everybody. Zach Martin here with Alicia. Kids as their dads. Noncustodials live as our show, and we are excited to have you guys. But this song's by a friend of mine, somebody I know from Clemmer. And I've been part of his journey since a couple camps and stuff. And really a cool dude, and he's very inspirational, motivated to take on this world and be his best self. And this song's about doing the work, putting in the time. And it doesn't matter what everybody sees. It's matter about what you know in your heart and how much you're giving of yourself, you know. And my son's favorite song right now. And I messaged my friend Jesse, and I said, man, it'd be a blessing. We're looking for a theme song, some music to get us pumped up and ready to go. And he was like, man, if you play my song, I'd be so honored and blessed. And I said, dude, I'd be honored and blessed. And so if you say yes, you're on. And so um,
I think it's cool.
Young Solomon, Feed with the Sharks. Dude, it's a dope song. Yeah. Yeah.
It's
And
dope.
I'm gonna make him a music video here. We're working on it. Me and my son are right now. He's been singing the songs, putting headphones on and stuff, and jamming out to it. And so we're gonna
Nice.
get a couple. We're gonna get him like playing some baseball and like catching some balls and singing some lyrics and stuff, and then like going for bike rides and cruising by me on his bike. He's like, "Dad, I could do this. We could make it a TikTok." I was like, "You can't
Nice.
make it a TikTok." So, um, anyways, I'm gonna get this fixed up. I only did this because you weren't here. So, um, but uh, what show are we on now? 16.
I think it's
Been really fun.
16. Yeah.
Yeah,
I,
yeah.
I
So
just
it's,
tried to count the, yeah, the
hey,
thumbnail
you know
for
what? Great job. So I tonight we got Dr. Courtney on. So gonna be a really good conversation. You know, I think I've never really been around a divorce coach, and I know what lawyers do divorces and stuff, and it's not kind and it's not supportive, and it rarely helps out in doing what's best for the kids. And so I'm excited to get to hear why a divorce coach and this upcoming seminar about divorce coaches and the things they can provide is of such benefit. So I'm looking forward to like bringing her on, getting this going, and really making this happen. So you ready to bring her on, Alicia? You got anything you want else to say?
No, I'm just excited because I've never been able to communicate with her yet, and I'm excited to meet her. I'm meeting her for
She's
the first
about to.
time, like a lot of people that are hopefully watching. So
Yeah, yeah. I've done it a couple times and stuff, and she's pretty fantastic. And I'm looking forward to this conversation this evening. So, without further ado, Dr. Courtney. So, check that out. Check that out. What? Standing
I feel like I've got
ovation.
a lot to live up to. Alicia's a sister. I'm so excited to meet her. Don't be excited to meet me. I'm just a person. I feel embarrassed.
don't feel embarrassed. We're all just people. But
Yeah.
sorry, I had to use the button.
I love
Yeah.
Buttons. Can we do it
That
one more
button
time?
was. Yeah.
Was it
Go for it.
loud?
Why not? It was a little bit
So
loud. We could probably turn it down a little bit, smidgen, but it's okay.
Yay!
Let's go.
So
Yeah.
we
good.
stopped it. We just got to let it
Uh,
run its course. But it's very nice to meet you, and
we will.
You
I
guys
am so happy
too.
you're here.
Thank you guys so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, yeah, it's gonna be really good. It's really a unique thing that you're providing and stuff. And so I'd like to hear kind of how you got into divorce coaching and what it means to you to be a divorce coach.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, I stumbled into it, honestly. I am a nurse by trade. I think I'm gonna age myself here, like 2 decades of being a nurse. And then I
That's okay.
entered family court unwillingly, as a kidnapped victim, is what it felt like. And going through the entire family court process was eye opening to me. I don't consider myself overly naive, but after that experience, I realized there's a lot missing from family court. It's a very broken, purposefully broken system. It is designed to do exactly what it does, which is tear families apart, extort families, charge families to raise their kids, the whole nine. But I didn't realize that until I went through it. And then as we came to the conclusion of our story in family court, I started thinking about being a lawyer, honestly. But I have a lot of student loan debt from nursing, and I was like, I really didn't even like our lawyer, so why would I want to be one? So then I kind of just started looking at, well, what can I do instead of being a lawyer, but still be able to help? And that's when I stumbled across the new title of divorce coach. And I took a program, became a certified divorce coach, went into another program for high conflict. I've taken some co-parenting classes, alternative dispute resolution classes, and a paralegal class, just to get more well-versed in the legal world. Because I realized what I would have liked to have had is a divorce coach, not a lawyer, not a guardian ad litem, not a therapist. Like, I would have loved to have someone that was really there for me, that was invested in my family, invested in what was best for us, and didn't have an aim to win. They just really wanted what was in our best interest as a family. So I decided to become what I wish I would have had.
Wow. So it's just completely personal experience that threw you into the arena of
Yeah.
everything. Wow.
Yeah. I decided to make our personal tragedy into something happy, into
Right.
something peaceful, into a healing journey. And then it sort of just morphed into this. I feel drawn and feel a passion to do this for other people so that they don't feel as isolated as I did, as we did, as my stepkids did. So yeah, it just sort of morphed.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you said you were drug into family court. Let's hear a little bit about your experience in family court. Like, what was it like for you going through family court, being a nurse? Saying you're naive. I think everybody's naive because what you hear about it just seems so unbelievable. And then when you go through it, you're like, God, it was worse than everybody said. Like, it was the worst thing ever. And so I'd love to hear your experience with that and how that went.
Yeah,
Yeah,
bad,
okay.
traumatizing. So I really had no background in family court at all. My mom and dad are still married. They truly shouldn't be, but they are. So I never really went through that. And my own divorce was amicable. We shared the same attorney. We didn't go to court. We signed all the paperwork in the attorney's office. We've been 50-50 since day one. Don't get me wrong, we're not good together. We don't like each other, but as parents, we step up. We do what we need to do for our child. And then I met my now husband, and he went through a 6-year custody battle, to the tune of over $100,000, everything from extortion to any allegation you can think of. So my family court journey started with him. So for me to have one attorney, less than $2,000, we've been 50-50, and then to be launched into this whole other world, it was like, are you kidding? Like, this can't possibly be legal. How come nobody's on our side? How come, you have evidence? Obviously, you're going to get justice with evidence. And it didn't matter what we had. It didn't matter what we showed judges, what we showed attorneys. It was our word against someone else's, and they lied better, and it got more money for the courts. So, I even think if you're worldly, if you're well-versed, if you're not naive, I don't think anyone, unless you've been in family court, truly understands what goes on there. You think legal system, you think justice, you think fairness. None of that exists in family court. None of it. It is literally a battle between, it's not even a battle between two people. Like, those two people, I saw so much contention and conflict actually come from the attorneys that could have been avoided, but they were fanning the flames between my husband and his ex-wife, rather than trying to, end it for the best interest of the family. And another thing that I found really interesting, especially with my healthcare background, mental health background, very few judges, attorneys, or guardians are trained in mental health disorders
Yeah.
or pediatric development. So, how do you know what's best for a family when they're struggling with mental health disorders and you have children with developmental milestones to meet? You know nothing about either. How can you sit there and tout you have the best interest of the family at heart? You know nothing
Right.
Right.
about
Right.
Absolutely.
I think that,
Absolutely.
well, they say, they say business is a child, and they have the factors, and that's how they kind of go off of this stuff. But then all the ruthless, underhanded, money grabbing things that they do to get to that point is like, well, yeah, it's just part of business, and they tack it up as, hey, it's getting billable hours, and I'm
Yes.
I'm working I'm working hard for my client and what they want to do, and a lot of these attorneys see their job as actually being to work for their client and get them custody and
Yes.
to
Yeah.
punish the other parent. And I've heard judges say in person that their job is to take one parent and punish that person to the furthest extent of the law. And if that's the attitude these people are coming to court with, it's no wonder that we have this messed up system and that they really don't care about the kids or anything else, because it's not about that at all. It's just
No.
that's the illusion that they give to the public
Mm-hmm.
when you always underhand things behind closed doors and with the legal system. So okay, so you got into you went through your stuff when your husband was going through his, which was later than yours. It sounds like
Yeah.
is that when you found divorce coaching?
Yes. Yes. It was at the conclusion of his custody battle that it was finally like, okay, I can breathe. This part is over. We're not answering, the almost daily emails we were getting either from his ex-wife or our attorney or the guardian or someone. I finally had a chance to kind of breathe. And that was the moment that I said, I need to turn this into something powerful, into something good. How can I do that? And then that's when, well, let's go to law school. Nope, don't want to go to law school. And then the coaching kind of came to fruition after the idea of law school was put away. So,
I think it's a wise
Go to
choice.
law
Law school
school.
is hard and time consuming and expensive, so it's all the things.
mhm.
Um, and I think they don't train you how to do any of this kind of stuff. Like they don't teach you how to do, even in family law classes. It's just the law behind how they got to this point where we're at now. It's not really how to even go out there and be a good lawyer to represent your clients and what that even means. Um, it's really disheartening, the lack of real knowledge of what takes place inside of this arena,
Yeah.
for lawyers, and they get the experience while they're out there in court doing these things. And family law lawyers are nasty to each other, and they
Yeah.
use their clients as pawns to get back at each other and punish each other. And it's not the way it should be. And I'm excited about what divorce coaching does. So tell us about your experience as a divorce coach. What does a divorce coach do?
Okay. So our approach, most divorce coaches approaches, and we all kind of have different specialties. So I work more with high conflict. There are some that have financial backgrounds. So they're CDFAs and things like that. They can help with sales of houses and splitting of, equitable distribution, things like that. Um, and then I did end up getting a co-parenting specialization too, because that was really a more of a passion for me. But we approach the client as a holistic view. So we don't approach clients as winning, going to court, getting billable hours, things like that. I approach my practice more with trying to keep clients out of family court as much as possible. So that was the
Mhm.
other shift that went from I don't want to go to law school because I don't really want to represent these people in family court. Family court is a well oiled $1 billion machine, and it's going to take a lot to break it all the way down and start over. So I'd rather keep you out of the circus and try to figure out how you can manage a divorce without an attorney. Hopefully, a lot of them you need an attorney somewhere, but don't use them to the fullest extent that you can. Only use them for the filings or the specific legal pieces. Um, so that's kind of how we approach it. We approach it more of a trying to keep you credible, keep you sane, walk you through the things you're going to need if you do have to go into court. And then I really try to work hard with unpacking the emotional justice. anyone going through a divorce wants emotional justice. And at the end of the day, that doesn't exist. We think it does. And we think if we fire off that really long email or we yell or we win, we fight them in court, that we're going to get this sense of peace, this sense of justice. And it just doesn't exist. So I really work with clients on unpacking that emotional baggage, deactivating their nervous system. That way they're not, co-parenting from a place of emotions. They're co-parenting from a place of healing and their children being at the center of it. So that's my specific approach. But again, a lot of divorce coaches have different things that they specialize in. So,
sorry, I guess you work with an individual, one of the parties, to
yes.
control all of these things. And
Yes.
do you, I guess you wouldn't represent them in certain situations, but in like a mediation type situation, are you available for that? Or
That's a good
I
question.
think you completely push, just like you can mediate it, you can stay out of the courtroom, we can work it out. So
Yes.
are you just individually for that one person, or both parties sometimes is my question.
It's a great question. I do have some mediation training. However, I have made a personal choice not to mediate if there are children involved. Um, it gets too sticky. But I do have colleagues who are mediators who will, sit down and do a Zoom mediation between spouses. I do not do that. If it's just a divorce and there are no children involved, I will sometimes take both clients. But
Right.
for the most part, especially when there are children involved, I represent one. So either the wife or the husband. I do not represent them in court. I have a disclaimer that I do not go to court for them, and I do not speak to their other spouse, and all information shared with me is privileged and confidential. So,
Okay.
yeah, I wanted to do the mediation piece. I took some training on it. I was going to get some certifications, but it was too triggery for me to sit between two people yelling at each other. So
Right.
I just realized I was not beneficial in the mediation role. So if I have someone looking for mediation, I have plenty of colleagues I can refer you to.
That's good. That's good. I
Definitely.
just feel like a lot of people, myself included, had I been told, maybe by more than one person, like, you do not want to do this.
Yeah.
Like, court is the last place you want to go. Court is the last place you want to go. If there was more people screaming that, and I think everybody's obviously in our community screams that now, but previously, I didn't know.
Yeah.
There's men that don't know. There's women that don't know. They just, they think it's a fair process.
Oh, absolutely. I had no idea.
Whatever it is. And so if there's a support or somebody that you trust, or even somebody that's just educated on the system, like you are saying, like, don't do that. That's the last place we want to go.
Yes.
Yes. That's like option Z. That's option Z. Z.
Yes.
Not plan A, not plan B, not plan C. It's
Let's
Z.
literally exhaust everything else there is before you do that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Nobody told me that.
No.
Maybe
Nobody
there was
told
people
us that either.
Maybe there's
Nobody
people
told me
that tell
that.
people. Not enough. Definitely not enough.
Well, and the
No.
bad part about it is I don't know about you, but I didn't find this community until we were almost completed with our journey. So I felt completely alone, totally isolated, had no idea. Like, I'm like, are we the only ones navigating this like the wrong way? Like, there has to be a better way to do this. But you don't find each other or this community, and really until you've been traumatized by it.
Yeah.
And then at that point,
cares.
It's still a great community, but it's too late,
Yeah, totally. I found it like right away. I was looking for support, and when it happened with myself, softball season had just started, and so I was with my softball friends, and I was like, man, like, and I knew people that had kids and had gotten divorced and stuff, and I was like, is this what it's like? Like, I'm not getting to see my son, and I'm not getting to spend time with him, and they're like, yeah, and I'm like, what the heck? Like, this makes no sense. Like, where is there any support for dads and stuff? And like, oh, there's nothing for dads out there, you know? And I'm like, what do you mean there's nothing for dads out there? And so it took me about 5 months of trying to navigate this stuff by myself and not having a real community. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to make my own community. And that was in 2017. And because there was nobody doing anything in Wyoming at that point in time. You know, there was nothing on the ground and nothing to connect with other dads. And so
There
it
was
was
there was
really,
ESP Wyoming, Zach.
oh yeah,
It was a
I did
Facebook
find that.
page. I'm pretty sure then.
I mean, Facebook is
Just
great.
saying.
So, and you know, there's something to be said about being in front of somebody face to face, you know, having that conversation, getting to look somebody in the eyes, you know, I can see you guys, but I can't touch you, you know, um,
Right.
Yeah.
and there's something about having that ability to be with that person who has a similar experience and have that real connection and then get to do stuff together. Like go out and go fishing with some guys, you know, drink some beers and, you know, go to the gym with some guys that are going through the same stuff and in processing and dealing with it together and having somebody to beat some ideas off of or, you know, cry about it with and they're like, man, I know what you're feeling. Like, dude, let it out, you know, like it's the
Yeah.
most awful thing in the whole entire world. And so there wasn't stuff like that. And it definitely needs to be a lot more of it. It's just, you know, like the Facebook community is great, but we need people on the ground. We need people to be able to have face-to-face contact and like real,
Absolutely.
you know, personal support. But that in lieu of that, when we don't have it at the moment, this is the best space to get to meet people and get support and fellowship around this awful experience. And I think with these groups and stuff now, we have, you know, and took that energy that they have and that hurt and pain and made it to constructive uses. We can make a bigger difference.
Oh,
Do you agree?
For
absolutely.
a little bit.
Absolutely. My husband, you know, he is finding these communities and through me now because you know, I'm connecting with people and things like that. But and I have his full permission to share his story, but he's not ready. He's not ready to share his story. He's not ready to talk about it with people because the things he's been through, the false allegations, just all of it, it's changed him and he, you know, he feels like nobody understands. He's the only one that's been through it. He doesn't know how to express it because it's such an isolating feeling. So, you know, we don't have anything here either in terms of being in person, but like you said, him finding these communities, seeing some of these posts and lives and podcasts and things like that have really started. I can see he's starting to kind of heal a little bit and be like, oh, you know, I'm not alone. This happens to other men. And, you know, I'm still an important father. I'm still an important man. Like, you know, this has helped him even just vicariously through me. So
That's
Mm-hmm.
good.
it's been a good healing journey. But, you know, the biggest thing is it's bad. I mean, you have to heal from a divorce regardless, but you shouldn't have to heal from the divorce, heal from family court, heal from custody battles. Because what a lot of people don't understand is as you're healing, as you're being traumatized and then subsequently healing, what that is putting your children through. And that is the focus that I try to put back on any client that I have. As Alicia, you said, you know, nobody told me. Well, that's what I start with my clients is I am telling you, court is not where you want to be. It is just not. It is not where you
Yeah.
want your children. It is not a safe space. Like I said in the beginning, these people are not trained on pediatric development. They're not trained on mental health. So they don't have the legitimate best interest of your children at heart. Not all. There are lawyers and judges that are good, but the vast majority do not have that at heart. So you're just adding to the further traumatization. And then you also have to put the stigma on men with mental health. There's not a lot of help out there for men, but you know, we're all up against a lot of odds. So I would rather just keep my clients out of the odds, out of the circus, and not have to deal with those things so that they don't end up having to heal later.
Right. Well, there's so much value in like having that person you can confide in and talk to, and who has experience in it, and also has the wherewithal. Like these are things you don't need to give your lawyer. Like this is you don't need to tell your lawyer this stuff. At least not now. Like you may need to give it to him if you go to court, but right now, don't waste your money or your time sending all these things to your lawyer. You know, like your lawyer doesn't want to have every communication. Your lawyer might want every communication because they're gonna make a bunch of money off it,
That's
but they
why
don't.
they want it
They
because
don't.
they're going to charge you for it.
My lawyer
Right,
wanted
but they
all
don't.
that. I mean,
Yeah, but they never use it, and or very rarely. And and
no
if you send them all at one
discovery.
every single day, you're sending it to them. Guess what? That's getting billable hours on the books, and they're taking that and running and padding their pockets off of your dime, and you can keep that stuff to yourself. And having somebody on your team, such as Dr. Courtney, that's one of the blessings you would have is in money savers for sure. Is that hey, don't waste your money on that. Let's get a plan of what we're going to do, and then help get guidance. And when you have a problem, and you're feeling stressed or anxious about it, call me. Right?
Yeah.
And do you do like weekly meetings? How do you organize your communications with your clients and that kind of work?
Every client is different. So I have some that are weekly because they need that approach. Some of them they'll text me and say, hey, I just got this email. How should I respond? And I help them, formulate a response. And some I have biweekly. And then I have some that we only meet right before they have a court case because they just need that, moment of, okay, let's prepare. Here's what you're going to be facing. Let me paint the picture for you. So I have a package. I have a program that I put most clients through, but I build it specifically to what the client's needs are. If they don't need me week to week, I don't need to charge them week to week. I will work with them when they need me, when they find it, necessary. I do help a lot of clients with parenting plans. I've noticed that that's a big need with co-parenting, having a successful co-parenting relationship. Because unfortunately, lawyers, when they draw up your parenting plans, they purposefully leave out a lot of pieces because if they leave it out, you have to come back. You're going to need them again when the child is a teenager or turns 16, when they want their ears pierced, when you're deciding on sports and churches. They leave that stuff out because then again, it's billable hours. You're going to end up coming back because of the contention. So I help clients build parenting plans. And then I do also have a package for divorce recovery. So that's people who have been through the legal system with divorce, but now they're trying to pick up the pieces and learn how to co-parent after. And I will go ahead and say it. This is always a hot button for everybody. I don't believe that co-parenting is always the right answer. I believe that sometimes parallel parenting is the right answer. So
I think a lot of
I
times
have
it's parallel parenting.
yeah. I mean, for the sake of the kids, sometimes it just
Yeah.
has to be. And, it drives me insane when I see these pictures of, the family. So it's the stepdad and mom and the dad and stepmom with their jerseys on with the kid. And it's like, this is how it's done. Yeah, okay. In a utopia, it is, but we don't live in a utopia. And that makes those of us who can't achieve that, even with an amicable divorce, my ex-husband
Right.
and I are not doing that. We'll sit on the same
We
side
don't
of the
want to be
sporting
around
event.
each other at all.
Yeah, like, I don't need a matching t-shirt to make co-parenting work. So,
It's a nice post though on Facebook.
it is.
See,
It's cute. I mean, it's cute, but it makes
the
those
kids
of us
can
who
still
can't
win
achieve
without
that.
that.
Do
Right.
what?
I didn't mean to cut you off. The kids can still win without that
Yes,
utopia. They still win.
100%.
They can
Yeah.
without
My
that.
son prefers that. Like, he doesn't want us sitting like side by side because he's afraid of like, what are you going to say to each other? Like, y'all don't like each other. And I know that. So he's like, it's okay if you sit on the same side, but like a couple seats down. Like, I'm good with that. So, and that's okay. So people need to start recognizing that just because the world of social media says that co-parenting is where it's at, I have a whole program platform. I have a book. I had it around here somewhere, but a parallel parenting book. I absolutely think that you need to do what's best for your situation.
Mhm.
And sometimes co-parenting just isn't it. It's too much toxicity to be able to, talk to that person regularly and things like that. So I also help the clients learn how to shift from a co-parenting mindset to a parallel parenting. Because in family court, that's what's shoved down your throat. Every time you go, it's, well, you guys need to co-parent.
You can't
Well,
co-parent.
yeah.
It's not working.
If we could do that, we wouldn't be divorced. Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
Right. Well, and there's so many judges that are out there like they don't want to have parallel parenting, right? Like if you can't co-parent, then one person has to be a parent. That person has to be like the whipping post. And there's a
yeah,
lot of judges out there that believe that. And so like, and they get a lot of power to the parent who is the instigator to go out there and counter parent, right? That person who knows, hey, the lawyer's like, hey, this judge doesn't like parallel parenting, so only co-parenting is allowed. Well, I can't co-parent with this guy, and I'm gonna make it difficult. And by making it difficult, then it's a self-fulfilling prophecy that you can't then co-parent, and a judge won't order parallel parenting. And I think parallel parenting needs to be more of the conversation and more of the standard, because there's a reason you got divorced, right? You got divorced because you don't get along with this person, and you can't parent together for a reason. And not that you wouldn't be able to in 5 years or 10 years. Maybe you can, and if you could, great. And if you can't, you can still be a great parent and do all the right things for your kid. And all the right things is not necessarily like the perfect things, but the right things, not being abusive or hurting your kids, but just showing up and being the best person you can be in those moments and giving them a nice, healthy, comfortable, average life, right? Like,
Yeah.
kids don't need to have like the Taj Mahal. They just need to have a house and some food and some love. And and
They need
the
happy
clothes.
parents.
Yeah, they need
That's
happy
what they need.
parents.
And if you're
Yeah.
trying to co-parent, you're trying to force a square peg in a round hole, you're going to be frustrated. You're going to be angry. You're going to be, fed up, low patience level, low tolerance. Your kid is going to see that. They're going to understand that. But you said something a second ago, that the judges give a lot of the control and power to the instigator, to the sometimes the abuser. The reason that they do that is because conflict equals billable hours. So if you give all the power to the high conflict one, you're going to be back in front of the judge every time you turn around. They see the high conflict one as a piggy bank. That's all they see. It's dollar signs for the high conflict one. It's hilarious to me when some of these parents come in, to comment sections or wherever, and they're like, oh, well, I won in the court system. And it's like, okay, well, you're the high conflict one. Thanks for telling us. That's why you won. Because no one who walks into family court wins, least of all the children. But the judges look at it. So I heard this in open court. I can't legally say who said it, wink, wink. But it was said in open court. I will destroy him financially and emotionally, and I will take his children from him if he does not come back to me. And there were no consequences. The judge was just kind of like, okay, very good. And from there on, the power went to that person. And the people involved in that situation were in court every time you turned around.
Good grief.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because
it's
that's exactly how it goes.
there's no penalties, right? And fighting about that stuff is exactly, and that's where parallel parenting can make such a big difference. When you have a parent who's like that, if you give both parents equal time, that other parent's probably legit. But the judges and stuff, like you said, and the lawyers especially also, and judges are lawyers, and who are their friends? Other lawyers,
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so they're going to help support their lawyers and give them what they need. So yeah, it's really tough. I think, can you give a little explanation about parallel parenting? And also, can you give us that book title?
Yes. It's on Amazon. It's Parallel Parenting Solutions. It's blue, and it is by, I want to say his last name is like Knickerboxer or something like that. It's a very long last name, but it's light blue, Parallel Parenting Solutions. Like I said, I usually have that thing in my desk drawer. I mean, it's dog-eared and all kinds of things. It's a great book. I think it's like $12. And I actually have a giveaway for it at the summit that I'll tell you guys about before we end. But so parallel parenting is more of you focus on your house and your ex-spouse focuses on their house. So it minimizes communication. Choices are made for your own home, and you kind of stay out of the other one and you keep the other one out of yours. Deals a lot with boundaries. So you have to be okay with, if an email comes in, if it doesn't have a question in it that you need to answer, you don't need to answer it. Yep, that's it. The one.
Carl Knickerbocker.
Nice.
Yeah, see, I had the last name right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes, I can see your ring light also.
Eliminate conflict with your ex. Create the life you want. Carl Knickerbocker.
It is excellent book. Excellent. Like I said, I have sticky notes in it. I mean, I've been parallel parenting or some semblance of it for about 8 years, and it works really, really well. Like I said, it deals a lot with boundaries. So I have to work a lot with clients and getting out of the mindset that everything does not require an answer. Um,
Mhm.
you don't have to explain yourself with what you're doing and things like that. And I saw it pop up. Yes, basically, it's both parents stay out of each other's business and you stay child focused. So, like with co-parenting, you're letting the other parent know about every little detail, and you're, both going to all the appointments, and you're making decisions together and things like that. And that's not always a good way to be. With parallel parenting, if you can't make it to the appointment, you should know your child's doctor's office phone number, call and get the information yourself. I
Right.
don't need to send that to you. So, and there's a lot of people
Mhm.
out there that think parallel parenting is, you're not looking at the best interest of your child. You're not, you're putting them in the middle. That is not what it is. If you're putting your child in the middle, you're not doing parallel parenting correctly. So,
Right.
Mhm. Right. Yeah, you don't have any communication. You drop them off at school on Monday morning, and you pick them up from school the following Monday morning, and that's parallel parenting. And yeah, it is
Well,
something.
I'm sure there's some communication with the kid in between then, Zach.
I mean, they get some phone calls and stuff, but that's basically how it
Well,
works,
right.
right?
That's what
Like,
I mean.
yeah.
Not just like, bye, see you next week.
see you next week. I mean, it could
Maybe
be,
some people
and
do that, especially with
Sometimes you
teenagers,
have to
probably.
be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
right,
Sometimes it
depends on
has
all
to
the
be.
kids,
Isn't.
Yeah.
right? And a kid could have like a cell phone, especially like teenage kids. They have their own cell
Yeah.
phones and stuff, so they can make phone calls and communicate and do things on their own without having to have the other parent being involved in facilitating those things. So,
Yeah.
Exactly.
um,
Exactly.
but you can parallel parent with even like a smaller parenting schedule. You don't have to have 50-50 to parallel parent. You could do a 30-60 or 30-70, right, in parallel parent.
Absolutely.
It doesn't have to be this, you know, back and forth every single day communication stuff. It's exhausting if you've
And
been
a
through
but a
it.
well-built, thorough parenting plan really helps with parallel parenting because decisions are already in the parenting plan. So it
Mhm.
cuts down on that frequent need for communication. Every little thing does not need to be decided. It's in your parenting plan. And I mean,
Right.
obviously, a parenting plan is a fluid document. I tell all clients that as the child ages and things change with them, you may have to revisit it. But if you can try to get as much of it in there early on, it really does mitigate that. And then I also help clients figure out too that set up an email that's specific to to parenting. Do an app. Some of the apps out there cost money. We don't all have that, free money in our pockets. So just a simple email. And then choose when you're going to check it. So that's what you communicate through. So then your ex-spouse is not just texting you randomly in the middle of a meeting. They're not, firing off 15 emails in the middle of the day, triggering you, getting that emotional fight or flight response. Like it's you set a time where you're going to check this and then respond. That way it gives you the opportunity to practice a pause before you do it. You're not just
Mhm.
sitting there at a meeting and being like, oh, let me fire off an answer real quick. It gives you kind of that balance. And I have a lot of clients who be like, well, I can't do that. What if something happens? If something happens, you're going to be notified, okay? The school's going to call you, the police are going to
It's an
call you, the
emergency.
rescue people are going to call, like somebody's going to get in touch with you.
Yeah.
So really set that boundary that you're going to communicate. And obviously that works a little bit better the older the child gets. If you have a 2, 3, 4 year old, that's a little more difficult. But the one thing I try to tell all clients, I try to tell people on my social media page, just so I can get it out there, is no style of parenting. It's not a cookie cutter. It's not going to be the same shape for every single person. And that's what gets me in some of these comment sections is people are like, well, I do it this way. Great. What are your variables in your story? Because it's not going to be the same as mine. It's not going to be the same as Zach's or Alicia's. It's all going to be different. So
Right.
do what works best that keeps your child at the center of your focus and keeps your peace and sanity. That's just kind of like the biggest takeaway that I try to teach clients. Because I wish that's something somebody would have told me. Because don't get me wrong, when I first got a divorce and my ex-husband would text me, it was, oh my God, I'm going to fire off this 5-paragraph dissertation is what you said to me because my heart's racing. And now I'm
Right.
just like, okay, I'll deal with you later. It's okay. And the world didn't implode and my child is fine if I don't answer right now.
Right.
Right.
I have a quick
Right.
question.
Yeah.
Just maybe free advice for anybody that might be listening in the
Of
situations that you
course.
might have a co-parent that doesn't want to utilize any of those other forms of communication. Like our family wizard, you go, okay, do you want to try our family wizard? Or can you only email me at this email address? Or can you only do this unless and it's an emergency? What would your advice be if they just completely refuse that? That you just
Yeah. Yep.
control
Great
yourself?
question. It comes out all the time.
So I
Happens.
answered it, but
It
someone
happens all
else.
the time. I
Right.
mean, yes, it's this, but I can absolutely elaborate. So what I tell people then is they don't have, so a lot of people think in a co-parenting, parallel parenting, whatever you're doing, you have to have the other person's cooperation. You don't. Effective communication really only takes one person because if you don't show up to the fight, there is no fight. So if they're texting you and you have our family wizard, every single time respond in our family wizard. If you have an email address and they're texting you or they're emailing you to your personal or your work email, only respond from your other email. Couple of things are going to happen. If you're in court and you do have a distant judge, they will see that they are not being cooperative. They can be held in contempt. If you get the typical judge and they don't really care either way, that's fine. But eventually, that person is going to run out of gas. So if you have someone who is doing that, they're also, by the way, Alicia, they're not a co parent, they're a counter parent. They likely have some semblance of narcissistic personality. I hate diagnosing people with narcissism. Not that many people actually have narcissism, but people
Yeah.
have traits. So
Like
if they have those
borderline
traits,
personality disorder, right? Like something more
yes.
like that.
Yep. Some
Tendencies.
sort of a difficult personality disorder. You can have
You're an
borderline,
asshole.
yes. And some people are just plain assholes. They don't actually have a mental health diagnosis. But you're not going to talk them into using what you want them to use. No amount of emails, paragraphs, screaming, yelling, crying, begging, fighting is going to change their mind. So stop
Mhm.
showing up to the fight. If they email you or text you to the wrong thing, then go over to the platform you choose to use and answer. Because the more you fight them, the more gas you give them. They will run out of gas, I promise. It feels like they never will, but they will. They do. They give up because they're not getting that supply, that gas from you anymore, and they're going to try to find it somewhere else. So you just kind of have to hang in there and do what works for your peace.
Right.
Mhm.
I just feel like this information is so beneficial. I mean, like I said before, it would have been so beneficial before. So
Yes.
beneficial.
Well, even now, right? I mean, you're
Anybody
dealing with
just
a
going
co-parent
through
all the
that. I
time.
mean,
Having somebody to beat these ideas off of and have the experience. And one of the great things about a coach like what Dr. Courtney does is that she's not just getting your experiences and stuff. She has other clients and their experiences and their other clients. And so as she keeps building this practice, she's getting to see so many more things, so many opportunities that she can then pull from those experiences and partake that knowledge and stuff and what worked or didn't work in those cases with those people. And I think everybody goes through family court as you go through like finding this community and you get involved with other groups. People's stories are so freaking similar. It is
Yes.
uncanny and
Yes.
awful that like everybody's going through really similar type stuff and it's all terrible and it's preventable. And you can also get somebody who like the recorder who can coach you through the process and make it seamless and less painful, and help you cope and recover sooner. Because, like you said, the most important thing is that these kids have happy, healthy,
Yes.
joyful parents who are committed to them and focused on them and aren't like trying to pick up the pieces of their life and fumble through it, but that are actually thriving and striving for greater things and giving that image to their kids. I mean, I want my son to see me as a champion, um, as an idol that has overcome and that does big things and supports a lot of people and makes a big difference. And um, 7 years ago, that was really hard to even imagine that I could even do something like that anymore. That it was all
right.
sucked out of me. And even when I started this stuff, uh, I was like in the most painful place my whole entire life. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm nobody's like, listen, we can have a talk together, but I'm in a really hurt place, you know, and how do I support you from this hurt place, making the right choices when you can have somebody who's not hurt to guide you and say, hey, I know where you are and I've been there and I know hundreds of people who have had similar experiences and I can pull from that and give you guidance and support to help you, you know, stop the fall and rise back up.
Yeah. And that I do pull from, clients' experiences, and I think one of the biggest things for me is, a lot of times people will say, well, you just don't understand. You must just be the stepmom. Well, yeah, I am a stepmom, but I'm also a mom and my child has a stepmom and I've been through my own divorce, so I've seen how amicable can work. I've seen how the other side works. I've seen what high conflict does. So I try to just approach my clients from what I would have liked to have had, what I needed when we were going through it, just to be able to kind of try to save them. And when you say your kid just wants a happy, healthy parent, thanks to all of the things we've been through, I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disorder that was basically just prolonged stress related. And I realized at some point, I don't even know where like my aha moment was, was I have a child that I need to be here and healthy for. And I have fought like hell to do that with his father. Well, I'm not going to not show up for my son. And if I continue to stay sick like this, I'm going to not be here for him. I'm not going to be healthy for him. I'm not going to show him that I'm a champion. And then, my husband has said since day one, I will never not show up for my children. I might be bruised. I might be, beaten, but I'm not going to not show up for my children. And I told him at one point, I was like, I love that strength, but if you keep showing up to this fight the way you're showing up, you're going to get this choice taken away from you. The stress was so hard on him for so long that even though he was trying to show up, it was almost physically impossible for him to do it. And I want to save people from that because I've seen what it's done to my stepkids. And the reality is people say all the time, I can't believe you must be a stepmom. That's why you fight for dads. You're a pick me. That's why you fight for dads. It's like, no, I don't say that I fight for just dads or just moms. I fight for kids. And if you're not willing to join that fight for kids, then you're who I'm fighting against.
Right.
And that will always be my stance. Always.
Nice. That's a good explanation right there.
Yeah, well, I get really tired of being called a pick me and a stepmom and all these other things. It's like, come on. I'm fighting for kids. Who bullies somebody that fights for the best interest of kids,
People.
Bullies.
People do.
Social media keyboard
do.
warriors.
Hey, wait. Jennifer put a comment about who those people are.
Oh,
Border personality disorder, bipolar,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
assholes. She left that one off. But those people, people want they want to have fights. You know, I mean, I think when I put up memes and I put up posts and stuff, when I put up the loving ones and I put up the ones about like, you know, do these great things for yourself and it's gonna make you better and you're gonna feel better and everything will be great. I get like 7 people like it. When I put the one like hate that person and they're being dicks, like 7,000 people are like, I'm gonna comment on this thing and I'm gonna like share this all over the whole entire world because everybody's got to see this person being a jerk and treating the other person and their kids like crap. And that's the ones that get the hits, unfortunately. And, you know, I get flack for it all the time. And I want the ones that I post about like overcoming and like being great and like stepping into your power and showing up for your kids in like a healthy, respectful, you know, compassionate way. And those ones get like 0 likes. I'm like, has it been up for 37 minutes? Because I got was mine. I gave myself,
It always depends.
and I had to go like and check, and I'm like, man, it's disheartening, and it still is something we get to keep working on because those are the things that make the biggest difference. Like it's the love that overcomes all of this stuff. It's not the hate and the pain and anger. It's the love for your kids, the love for yourself, the love for the community, the love for what's right and just, and being a virtuous person is what's going to move you forward. And living in that hate and anger and that below the line mentality and feelings is going to just destroy your whole beingness and your relationship with your kids and everybody else. And it's when you overcome those things and you choose into the higher plane of consciousness, that joy, that abundance, that worthiness, that compassion. Those are the things and the energy that's going to bring you closer to your ex, more in line with your kids, and they are going to resonate and be drawn to you because you are putting out that energy. And it's powerful, and it's not easy. We're not taught how to do that stuff. We are taught to be below the line. But when you are above the line and you do find that, that's where the power's at. And having a coach can help you see those things and recognize that in yourself where you can't, and help you guide you towards that path from being vengeful, being angry and mad, and into like, how do you have compassion? How do you go find joy in your life today? What can you do right now? Like, get up, go do something, go for a hike, go for a walk, listen to a song, dance in your living room, like, play some Fortnite or something. I don't know what you get into, Minecraft, like, do it, whatever you love, do those things. I love Fortnite. My son loves Fortnite. I freaking love Fortnite. Dad God 28, look me up. That's it. I'm changing my name.
My son will play with you. He loves some Fortnite, but yeah, I mean, I put up a post not that long ago about forgiveness, and I think it got like a couple of likes until people started arguing in the comments, and they were like, forgiveness is not going to happen. And it's like, if you feel that way, you're doing forgiveness wrong, because I'm not telling you to forgive them for their sake. I'm telling you to forgive for your sake. Because if you stay spun up and toxic and you keep taking, the exit off the high road into the gutter with them, you are never going to get better. You're never going to heal. You have to forgive so that you can move forward. You're not forgiving so they can move forward. We don't care if they get stuck in the mud or whatever, or gravity gives up and they float off somewhere. We don't care. What we care about is our moving forward, our peace, finding that joy in whatever that may be. But if the only thing you're focused on is your own story, your own perspective, the anger, you're never going to get there. You're never going to get there for your child. You're never going to show your child what it's like to forgive, to be on the high road. And I can tell you from personal experience, and a lot of people have a really tough time with this, children do grow up, like they do. And when they get to be a little bit older, I'm seeing that firsthand right now. They see who was the consistent one, and they see who was the problem, and they see who forgave and who didn't. And, I just try to tell clients, do you want to try to explain? So a lot of people talk about documentation. Make sure you have your documentation. Make sure when you communicate as if a judge is going to read it. Absolutely top-notch advice. I give it out all the time, but I take it one step further. Read it as if your child is going to read it one day, because they might. Mm-hmm. And you want to make sure you're showing up as the healed, consistent one, because they're going to have questions. They're going to see it. And you don't want to have to explain your shitty behavior when they get older. You don't, because you're not going to have an explanation as to why you knowingly tried to destroy their other parent. There's never an excuse for that. Never.
Boom. I know, right? That's it.
Wrong button.
Roadcaster Pro. Look at you go.
I'm sorry.
New toy.
The wrong one.
You know what?
I wanted like a.
You have crickets on there? What's
not the applause.
Like the mic drop sound?
Yes.
Yeah. Ethan says boom.
I'm just saying, like, what you just said.
It's so true.
It is.
Hats off. I'm serious, because
you got older kids, Alicia. How's that working out for you guys?
I know, and I think I've thought about that before, but I think most of us, I think many people, they don't think about that. It's exactly what you said, if a judge is going to read it. And so that you're like, typing on your phone. Yeah, it's mean, but it's within reason or whatever it is. But if
I'm justified
that way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
And don't get me wrong. I want everybody that's listening and you guys to know that I'm not sitting here saying this from a pedestal of judgment. I am not saying this as if I am perfect. Believe me, if you pull up some text messages I've sent.
Let's see all your texts.
I need to just release my own screenshots. I've taken the exit off the high road right into the gutter many, many times myself. we all do it, but that's the part where if you have a coach, if you have that like divorce, BFF next to you. I mean, I have several clients now who they'll text me and they'll say, "Hey, I got this. This is what I drafted." And I'm like, "Nope, we're not sending that. You're going to take a beat. You're going to go for a walk. You're going to play Fortnite, drink a glass of wine. I don't care what it is you want to do. Go do something else and we'll answer it later." And then they come back and they're like, "Thank you. I'm so glad I didn't send that. I would hate for a judge or my kid or anybody to read that. I, was just in a bad headspace." I wish I'd have had that because then I wouldn't have these text messages that I've sent. So
It is so valuable. It is to anyone in that kind of conflict. As I'm, in my personal opinion, people, when there's children involved, you're level 5 billion.
yeah. Oh yeah.
I would think a divorce with just like you and whoever and stuff wouldn't get as crazy, but it probably does get as crazy, but so valuable.
Yeah. If there's a lot of assets involved, like money, it can get equally as crazy, but
Yeah.
it's typically a lot more lengthy and drawn out when there are kids involved. And the saddest part is because there's usually one party that uses the child as a pawn, and that's why it gets drawn out. So
Right.
it like I said, I know in a utopian world we wouldn't have to go to court and need attorneys, and I know that sometimes people still need an attorney, and that's fine. You can have an attorney, you can have a coach, and you can have a therapist. We all have different roles that we play. So therapists, they dig out the old stuff. They look at your childhood. What did mom and dad do? That kind of thing. Coaches look more for the future. We help you prepare for the future, help you kind of with the present too. And then obviously your attorney is the one for, the legal part. So we all play a very, very important role, but your divorce coach isn't in it to win it. We're not winning anything. We're just here to help.
Yeah. Yeah. There's no, you don't have stats that like, well, I've won 73% of my cases. So,
Well, the stats
Right.
would be like, 90 people that I helped settled out and everybody's happy as they could possibly be.
Yeah.
Mentally, physically, and the kids are doing great.
Yeah.
You know what I
The
mean?
kids are thriving in the environment is one of the best compliments I can ever get from a client. Is our kids are doing well. Great. Then you have succeeded if your kids, because that's what a lot of people don't understand. Divorce is not the traumatizing part. It's how you handle the divorce, how you handle the custody, how you handle all those pieces is what traumatizes the kids.
right. Totally. Yeah. It's how you show up for your kids after all that stuff goes down. And over the years of their lifetime, as they're going through this and being in it, that's what they get traumatized by, and that's what hurts them going forward.
But if you
And
can
so,
learn strategies to mitigate that early on and then carry it forward, you are mitigating that stress, that trauma, the unpacking of emotions that they're going to need to do later in life. The earlier on you learn some of these strategies. And one of the biggest things I work with clients about, because what we don't realize is your fight or flight response kicks in when you have an ex. And unfortunately, even though our bodies are amazing things, they don't know the difference between your ex and a bear. So when, your ex text messages you and you fly into this, heart's racing, you're dizzy, you're anxious, your palms are sweating, you're nauseated, and you just want that to stop, that's where that emotional response comes from. But what we don't understand is that just snowballs the problem. So if you can learn early on how to heal and deactivate your nervous system, you're going to do wonders for yourself, your own health, your own sanity, but more importantly, your kids. Don't let your mess get on your kids. It's not fair to them. They didn't ask for this.
Wow.
yeah.
Could you still teach me how to deactivate my nervous system?
It's a work in progress for us all. I still have moments, but
Yeah. I mean,
I can give you one really quick piece of advice to help with it. Practice the pause. Practice the pause. Anytime you get an email, a text message, you're doing a pickup, a drop off, it's a sporting event, take a minute and practice a pause. Whether your pause consists of, I don't know, like a fidget ring, do that. Go for a walk, something that you're putting that electronic down, you're putting the thought of them down. 5 minutes. Just practice the pause, deep breathing exercises. Some crazy people do that cold plunge thing. I can't get on board with that. Cold stuff
Yeah, me neither.
freaks me out, but
Cold
you can do that.
showers, those kind. No.
Yeah, no, thank you. Go for a run. I don't know, like anything that just takes your mind off of it, pause for a minute and then come back to it, because that's going to help you decrease it. Stick your face in a freezer. I mean, sometimes, that cold, it causes like a vasovagal response in your body and it slows your heart rate down. So
Right.
scientifically, even just like a
Supposed to
cold
work.
pack to your face when your ex texts you will help. So
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's great advice. I
Thank
mean,
you.
whatever you can do to give yourself that calmness, right, and get you
yes.
away from that energy, and then get to think clearly. My biggest thing I love to do, I love working out, and I go to the gym and do that stuff almost daily because it allows me to be calm when I get triggered by her. Which if I get a text, it's a triggering thing. It's like, um, what am I
And
being
your
attacked
guys'
for
stuff
today?
is like pretty much good most of the time. Just like
Yeah,
my
most of
stuff,
the time.
it's pretty much good most of the time, but still, because of everything before,
Yeah.
it's like a ding, and you're like,
Yes.
"Oh."
Well, and I feel like, I think sometimes the word trigger is overused a little bit, but the reality of it is it's an activation of your nervous system. It just
Hmm.
is. And that
Right.
you divorced the person for a reason. So that reason is what activates you. It's past triggers,
Hmm.
things like that. And I'm not saying that even if you're the most like best healed version of yourself, that that's going to go away. Like I said, I've been doing this 8, 9 years and I still get that way from time to time, but I've learned what works for me to get out of that headspace because I started because of my background. I love data. I love tracking and trending and researching all kinds of things. So I started kind of researching myself, and it was like the quicker my response time, the more high conflict, contentious, down in the gutter mouthy I was. And if I gave it some time and if I did an activity and then responded, it was a much more well thought out, less emotional response. And it was like, hey, this kind of works. Like,
Yeah.
walk away for a minute. And I realized it was because I was getting so activated that it's that this has to stop. Like your body wants to protect you. So this has to stop. Well, if I answer really quickly, it'll go away. If I come up with a fix really quickly, it'll go away. It doesn't. It's a band-aid over a bullet hole when you answer, contentiously. So it's just going to make things worse.
Yeah.
Such good
Yeah.
information.
Yeah, that's one of the best things you can do. And I
It
thought your
is.
comment about how you respond back with your kid being somebody who reads it in the future was really powerful. I have actually uh, most of the time done that, and that's been like my like one of my things. Like I'm always nice to his mom, always nice, even when it's painful to be nice because everything's saved nowadays. I have an iPhone. I'm gonna have this iPhone forever. Will my son pick it up? Will my son get a future iPhone that's mine and that he gets to have? And he's like, oh, I can look my mom up. And he looks him up and starts reading through that kind of stuff. Do I want him seeing me saying bad things about his mom and evil things and hurtful things to his mom? Whether she sends those things to me or not, I don't want him seeing me sending those things because I don't want him thinking that behind closed doors, when I do this stuff, that's the guy that I am. I want him to read the words that come out of my text to his mom being the same things that I say to him in person about his mom, and the same things in the same way that I live my life and speak to everybody else that I am in relationship with, which is anybody I come in contact with in this
Yeah.
world. And am I always nice? No, I'm not always nice. I am sometimes a jerk. But I also know that like by being nice, I am laying out the framework that he'll get to see these things, and that when he does, if he does, he'll go, man, my dad is the same guy my dad is all the time. And he's rock solid, and you can't
It's
ask for anything more than that.
Yeah, it's the consistency that you show. You're that way
Mm-hmm.
with everybody. You need to be that way with her too. And we have 6 3-inch binders that we created for court, and I also have poster boards we created for court with our timeline on it. And we have been asked by the older child to look at some of that at some point. There's questions being asked, and it's text messages, it's Facebook posts, it's all kinds of things. And I don't know that we'll give them to the, I don't know that we'll allow them to be read. I don't know. But I'm glad that we have always tried to stay consistent, kind, above board, so that if we do end up giving those over or letting some pieces of them be read, it shows us in the light that we wanted to be shown in, not
Right.
where we were, the high conflict, the problem, so to speak. And your
Right.
kids will ask, and it's up to you and their age and what you want to share and things like that. But they will ask, I promise. When they get older, they will want to know about, well, that one time you went to court, why this one time this thing happened, what was the real story? Because they're going to have to unpack that. And no matter how mad you are at their other parent is 50% of who they are. So if you're bashing and bad mouthing their other parent, you're bad mouthing them. And that's how they're going to
Right.
take it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's damaging to them. And then you're gonna have your kids going through therapy to recover from the trauma they have from being a kid of parents who are, are jerks and treat them like crap, or treat themselves and others like crap. Um, and so it's really tough. We had a couple questions.
Yeah.
Was it a conflictual parent? And I don't know necessarily the context, Michael Cox, if you're still on here, but um,
Oh, I think I saw his question. It was, what did we say? Who was the person we said the judge gave power to? It was the
oh,
contentious person, the more high conflict person is the one that the
right,
judge gives the power to. I think that's
right.
what he was asking.
Okay, yeah, and that's what we talked about earlier was that they want to have they know that if you give the control to the conflict person, they're going to continue to have conflict. They're going to see themselves as superior and as righteous and correct, and therefore they're going to feel like, hey, guess what? I was chosen to be the right parent because I'm a better parent than you are, and I'm going to dictate how this stuff goes, and that's how those people do
I
things. And guess what?
won.
I won, and because I deserve this, because I am better than you, and I'm gonna stick it to you and show you who's the best. And
Yep.
unfortunately, yes, Michael. Okay, good, awesome. That's just it perpetuates the same stuff over and over again, and then you get this stuff in the spots where you're at, where your kids do it. And one of the things I do, my son hasn't come to me about it, but my son uses my phone. Like we do road trips. We cross. I live 6 hours from my family. I went and hung out with Alicia this last weekend. We went to Arby's and we drove hours and hours, right? And when we were driving in Wyoming, there is nothing to see. Like there's a cloud, and oh, there's a tree and a deer. Like that's
That's
awesome. A
it.
Nothing
windmill.
to see in southeastern Wyoming.
That's true. And
Just
so as
correct
you're cruising
yourself.
through you know what? If you're from California, don't come to Wyoming. We don't want you. So um, sucks. It sucks here. It's the worst place in the whole entire earth, and you should stay where you are.
It's
Hang out with
terrible.
all the other people from California because you guys aren't welcome. Go to Colorado, okay? Colorado wants you there. We don't. So, um,
Yeah, Colorado is beautiful.
it's
It
really
is.
nice. It's like Greenland and Iceland. So take your poison. But driving through there, like my son, is bored, right? We have games and stuff and things, but when you're on the road for 6 hours, what do? And he's like, Dad, can I play a game on your phone? I give him my phone. He's in the back seat, right? I'm not supervising the things that he's into, and I have a new screensaver with his picture on it and stuff. Like he goes through things and does stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And in those moments, note to self: buy property in Wyoming. Don't come. Yeah, you can come, Matthew. You're cool. Um, Everybody else though, don't let him come. Um, but uh, but he has that stuff, right? And he's 7, and he can read anything that we put on there. I try to not let him read my text when I'm sending stuff to him because he's reading the words that I'm putting down and things. He's a really
Absolutely.
good reader, and so. But could he just sit back there and go reading through our text? He easily could. He could go through that stuff. And how much could a kid read in a back seat when you're in a car and you think he's playing video games on your phone and he's reading through text?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and there are parents too that'll say, I mean, they'll make up stuff or they'll read stuff. If you're nasty to your ex and your ex has your child, they could say, "Hey, look at what your mom or dad just sent me," and let them read it. So, I mean, if they're making it up, the truth always comes to light. It just does. But if you're being ugly in a text message or an email and they're like, "Hey, here, read this." My
Right.
husband's ex-wife would do that. She'd let the kids read all the communications. She would tell them and share, I mean, literally everything with them. And it was, we have to stay above board because, I mean, and don't get me wrong, you'll want to go in the gutter when you're dealing with a high conflict person. We all have lots to say, but you
Yep.
just have to be very careful because, like I said, that's their parent. And just because you feel justified in what you're saying, in order to show them you're justified, you're going to have to tell them the other side of the story. And then there you are, putting the child right in the middle of it. They don't need to hear all of that.
Yeah. No, they don't need to hear it. And they don't want to. They just want to love both you guys. And they want to be loved. That's it. They want to have as much love as they possibly can have, and they want to have joy and fun, and they want to feel love and give love. And they don't want to have all the other stuff, you know?
Their
Um,
shoulders aren't wide enough to carry adult drama.
no, no, they are not made for that. And we don't want to give them to the you don't want to carry it as yourself. You're
Oh,
30, 25, 45-year-old people, and you don't want to carry all this stuff. So don't give any of it to your kids. Do as best you can to keep them out of it because they need to just be in that imagination and that joy and that childhood experience as long as humanly possible. And as long as we can keep them young and uh, imaginative and believing that everybody's great and their family is amazing and their mom and dad are like the best people ever, whether they are or not. If they think their mom and dad are the best people ever, they're going to believe that and they're going to grow up to that. And when they're older, they will find out. That person will show who they are. If you're a crappy person, you're a crappy person. I mean,
Yeah.
it happens, and your
yeah.
kids know. So I can't read all Carson said. Was he asking about?
Are you gonna read the
I was
Um,
going
question?
to. Yeah. Any
any
thoughts
I
of?
want to read it out loud, just
Go
because,
for it.
like,
Do it.
Spotify doesn't have this stuff on there. Any thoughts of one parent silencing the child from talking about their household? Is that not a First Amendment rights violation? Cause the child social anxiety.
um okay, a First Amendment violation. I don't know. I can't answer that part of it. That's the
That's
only
a
Well,
place
government thing, anyways.
don't
I
want to
It's a
don't
read
know.
government silencing you,
First
not
Amendment
like
rights
another person.
in my
They can tell
Yeah.
you.
most
But
of the
So
time.
in terms of, is that
This is a
something that,
monarchy.
I mean,
In my house. In my house.
yeah, I'm not letting the
Sorry.
government in to know about that, but
Oh,
in terms of should you do that? So I actually did a post on that one day this week, but um, so it was something along the lines of, so I had a different opinion than the poster did, but they posted something along the lines, if you tell my child that you have to keep secrets from the other parent, like you're bad,
oh,
basically.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. So my thought on it is yes, if you're telling a child that you have to keep secrets, you're in the wrong. But should you, is it sometimes okay to say that the child shouldn't necessarily be taking things back to the other household? Yes, because there are sometimes safety concerns and issues. So the example that I provided in that post was, when my husband and I got married, we had to keep everything very close to the vest because there were threats to my safety made. And we didn't want the children to be put in the middle. We wanted them to have basic plausible deniability to be able to say, hey, we have no idea. Um, just so that our wedding day was not ruined and my safety stayed intact. So we didn't share everything. So it wasn't, we said, here's when it is, don't tell anyone, keep a secret. We just kept it very close to the vest. So that's what I
Right.
tell a lot of parents to do is don't have these conversations in front of the kids. If there are things you don't want the other household to know, don't talk about it in front of the kid. You shouldn't be doing that anyways because they're kids and they don't need to hear adult conversations, but just don't overshare. If you're taking them somewhere on a trip, wait till they're with you to tell them you're going if you don't want the other, parent to know because you're worried about safety or them showing up or something like that. So it's a gray area. Don't tell kids to keep secrets, but yes, there are times where things don't need to be shared with the other household. And yes, it does cause anxiety in the children. If they know something and the other parent is trying to get it out of them and they know they shouldn't share it, that would give anybody anxiety, even an adult.
mhm, right,
So,
So
right.
yeah.
And if you're in a conflict situation with another parent, that person's going to be asking your kids to
100%.
pry and get information. They are gonna pressure that kid to give them information and tattle on the other parent because that's what that person wants. That's the energy that they live off of, and that's how they function. And if you give them that fuel, they will use it, and then they're
Yes.
going to keep going back to that kid, and they're going to keep going back to that kid, and then kids can be stuck in the middle, and you're going to do that to your kid. And don't talk about the other parent in the other room with your kid in the same house because kids have like freaking like I don't know. They have like this high tech like James Bond type ears and stuff. They can hear everything from across like a half block or two.
Oh yeah.
Um,
So I
it's happened to me, and it's hurt my heart that I've done that in the same house. And my son's heard me say things, and I'm like, damn, like that was not my best moment. And I thought I was in another room. I
married
thought I was
people do
safe.
that too. I mean, it
I'm
happens.
sure, but I thought I was
I
safe,
mean,
right? And I said something, and he heard it, and then
Yeah.
and then it got back because that's how things go.
And it
And
happens.
I sorry,
it does.
Zach. I was reading it a different way, almost that the child in the other household is being told, don't talk about your other house
Mm,
while you're over here. Don't share anything like that. Don't
Oh
tell me
yeah.
about anything from over there. Like that's kind of how I
I mean,
read it. And I could be wrong, but I guess that's the flip of the
Yeah.
situation. Does that
Well,
make
and
and that's
sense?
super
that
unfortunate.
happens
So
too.
they're
You know
saying
that.
don't say anything to me about that other person or that other parent or the other the other
Yeah.
house. Don't say anything. Don't share.
Well, and I mean,
That's how I read it.
I'm a very blunt individual, so I'm just gonna put it out there. That's crappy. If you're doing that, that's crappy. I realize that you don't necessarily want to hear what, dad and stepmom or mom and stepdad are doing, and it could hurt your feelings and things like that. But get over it. Get over it for your kid. If your kid is excited to tell you something, listen. We as adults, we tune out people at work. We tune out people we don't like. Tune them out while they're talking. Act like you're listening, but tune them out. Let them say what they want to say and then just say, that's great. That's interesting. That's neat. And end the conversation. But if you're making them feel like they can't talk about something, you're making them feel like it's a secret and it's bad. And that, yes, that will cause anxiety in the child. And they shouldn't
Yep.
be put in that position.
Right.
Right. Yeah, support them in being free to speak as they want and stuff. And you're an adult, if they're saying something you don't want to talk about, change the subject. Let them say their piece and get their stuff out there, and then just move on to
Oh
something else.
yeah.
Like,
See, like
what do I want us to talk about something different, right? And kids are really easy. They love all kinds of things, and you should know all the things your kids love. So if they're like rambling on about something that you don't want to talk about, you know, get to a breaking point and move it into something else that your kid wants to do. You got a little
Wait
boy
till
wrestling.
they take a breath and then say, "Let's go get ice cream." They're gonna stop
Right.
talking. I
I,
mean,
I got I got a 7-year-old. I'll tell you what. If you just make a fart sound in the middle of it, he's done. He forgot what he was talking about. Now we're farts and butts, and boom. I'm I'm
that
100% in, Dad. You farted. Let's go.
for sure.
that doesn't get better in middle school. They do the same thing.
Yep.
So yeah,
All
I mean,
right.
like
So
literally just make a noise, squirrel, and he'll, you can. If you make your child the center of everything, it is much easier to move past some of this stuff.
yeah.
And you can't control. So I know there's a comment up there that the ex tells what happens at mom's house stays at mom's house. Okay, that's bad. She shouldn't do that, but that's not your, and I'm not saying that the person who commented does that, but that's not yours to fix. That's not yours to deal with. That's mom's to deal with. And one day your kid is going to know, they're going to look back and they're going to say, when I was at mom's, I had to keep everything secret. I couldn't talk about anything, but my dad was always very open with me. They're going to know. You just have to kind of not miss the forest for the trees. You have to see the future, that your kids will grow up. And one thing that my husband is seeing now, and so when there's a custody schedule, the kids come when they're court ordered to come. But your kids have a whole life ahead of them. 18 and up, weddings, engagements, college graduations, babies, the whole nine. That's when they're going to choose the more consistent parent. It's not going to be a court order. And if you want to be part of all those things and chosen, then you need to remain the consistent one, no matter how hard it is to do, because your ex cheated or your ex did X, Y, and Z or whatever. You want to be that chosen parent as they get older. I mean, I know I do. When my child, way, way, way away from now, has a child, I want to be there. I want to be, the parent that he chooses. And I want him to choose his dad too. I want us to be able to be there together and, not have it be this dramatic experience for my adult child when he's grown. So you just kind of have to
Right.
look at it that way. They do grow up. It does get easier. There's a light at the end of the tunnel and it's not a train, I promise.
Right. Definitely. And I think there's a comment here by Corey. And I don't know. If Courtney, you got to have your kids more your primary parent or non-custodial parent stuff. But Alicia was a non-custodial parent. We started this program because of Alicia's experience and mine, and having the same experience. And as a woman
What?
being the non-custodial parent, that is the most damaging place to be at, because women are expected to win custody, and if you lose custody as a woman, you're assumed there's something wrong with you. We all
100%.
know in family court, there's absolutely nothing wrong with
There is
any of
something
us.
wrong with
We
you.
are all great, and I'm an amazing
Can't.
dad, and my son should have had me, and I know Alicia, and I've known Alicia now for 7 years, and she's an amazing mom, and the pain she went through and the struggle she went through to be in her kids' lives and to overcome what she went through, and then the grace that she had when she had the opportunity to take that custody and punish her kids, her ex, with that opportunity, that's the kind of grace and love and support that we want to have, that I hope that all of you guys have at some point in time in the future, that you guys can do that with her, and you can say, you know what, you were wrong for taking this from me and taking this from our kids, and now when I have the opportunity to go and shove it up your face, that I'm not going to do that to you, because
Yes.
I know what's right. And
Yeah.
the right thing is that my kids need to have both your parents, and I'm going to show you by example, and for our kids the example of how to be a gracious, loving, and consistent parent, and committed. And everything that Alicia stands for and everything she has done is exactly that. And she is the kind of woman and man that all of us should want to be for our kids. So
Yes.
I love you,
Well, and
Alicia. So
I
Wow,
want to,
Zach,
I
I
just,
just didn't even. I, d- I usually
sorry.
catch those ones. I usually see them.
well, I mean,
It's okay.
I have a comment and a question for Corey. And if he's still here, whatever, for anybody who feels this way. So, well, I guess it's more of just a question. Why do I have to have gone through it to empathize with it? I don't have to have gone through it. Yes, I have 50-50 with my ex-husband. That was something we both chose. No, I've never been the non-custodial parent. I have been right next to a man who was a non-custodial parent. I've lived through that with him. I was in every court appearance. Um, I don't know exactly how he feels, but why do I have to go through it to empathize with it? And why do I have to go through it just to fight for it? That's so he's not the only one that says things like that, well, you're not a man,
Oh
you don't
yeah.
understand, or, you probably don't have kids, or like we talked about, stepmom pick me. But what
You
I
probably have
don't
a
have
stepmom.
to,
Try
yeah,
again.
I don't have to be a man that went through it to empathize and fight for it. Would you prefer us not? Like, we all need to get, and that's the thing, is we all need to get on the same page here. And that's the thing I see most often in comments and things like that, is it's it's people, like it's moms against dads. Men aren't worthy. All moms are single mom terrible. All dads are deadbeats. Why can we just not all come together and fight against the true problems, the true deadbeats, the true single moms that do false allegations? Why are we not all banding together and fighting against that? Why are we
Or
fighting against
just
each other?
against crappy attorneys and the court system
Yes.
itself.
Right.
I mean,
Yes.
you know,
Right. The crappy women and stuff that do these kind of things, and guys that use the system to punish somebody else, they only do that because they've seen the courts give them that power, and other people get that power. And if we get the courts to stop doing that and stop using that energy and stuff to get that, then they won't. And then we have to go out there and fight this stuff. And I just uh, I appreciate you guys. I think what you guys have done and what we're doing is so powerful. And we have this system now, Facebook and all this connectivity, that we can come together from across the country, across the world, and make a difference together. Where we couldn't do that stuff 15 years ago. And so we can do so much more now with what we have, and that this is the opportunity. And I think doing this program, doing other programs, and having these groups out there, the other Facebook pages that everybody's kind of engaged in, we're
Yeah.
on like 7 different Facebook pages right now in front of potentially, 500,000 people who could watch these things, because
well, it could be if
these
they were
groups of people,
watching.
if they're watching, hey, you know what?
They're
We have
busy right now,
27.
most of them.
We got 27 people watching, and that's all that matters. But that it's an opportunity to have that kind of a presence, and then
Yes.
having these people could pull from this stuff. It could be out there, and that now they can have this information, they can have this context, they can have this dialogue, and then they can reach out and say, oh, you know what, I like kids or dads. I think Zach does a good thing. You know what, I need a divorce coach, and I've seen one now, and I think that's a great idea. And if you didn't have that experience, if you didn't have faith to get to see those things, you wouldn't get to have this opportunity to even know that's a thing. Like, I didn't know that was even a thing until you put it out there. And I was like, who's this Dr. Courtney girl? And what's going on with this divorce coaching? That's genius. And we need more of that.
It is genius.
The first thing people think when you think I'm going to get a divorce is an attorney. And what I want to change, if I could afford a billboard, I would get one that said divorcing ? Get a coach. Do not go immediately to an attorney. You don't have to. The world is changing. I mean, we just went through COVID and all the things, and everything's going to online. The world is changing. Keep up. You don't have to have an attorney. You can get a coach, and it doesn't have to be me. I can tell you right out of the gate, if I have clients meet with me all the time and they tell me their issue, and I'm like, listen, I have a colleague who is way more equipped to handle your specific situation. Let me get you their information. I'm never going to take you just to take your money. I offer discounts constantly. And sometimes they're just like, hey, it's a Tuesday, so you get a discount, because I'm not trying to get rich off of this. I don't want to be TikTok famous or anything like that. The 27 people that are watching, if I have helped any of the 27 people on here with one thing, night made. Like, I'm winning. Like, this is my winning. I'm glad that I'm helping people. And I had somebody the other day ask me, send me a really nasty message. And they're like, what, all you're ever going to do is post memes? How's that going to change anything? And it's like, I'm raising awareness, because the first step to a solution is awareness. And if you look in these comment sections, people are not aware of what family court will do to you. They're not. As a whole, as a general population, people are not aware. And we need to raise that awareness. And if that means only 27 people now have the awareness, those 27 people will go tell other people, and I'm not going to math that right now, but it'll multiply,
It's like snowballs into like something, into a snowman. So, yeah. And, it's great. I think a guy just put Carlos talking about just that Tony was on the Father's Rights Movement and was talking about us, and some people would come here and listen to the program, and that's the kind of, that's the kind of connectivity. Yeah. I love Tony. He's a great guy. And that's the kind of like connection we need to have. That's the kind of support. Like, this is a movement against like the system that is out there oppressing us and our kids, using our kids to oppress us and hurting our kids in the process, and giving them a world where they're going to be either the abuser or the victim of this system in the future. And what do you want your kids to be? I mean, I want them to be neither of those things. I want them to just be able to go through life and not have to have a victim or abuser opportunity, because it's not necessary, and
back to Corey's comment, I have a son. I'm a boy mom. I don't want my son ever feeling like my husband has, ever. So I don't care if I'm not a man and I don't fully understand. I will never stop fighting, because I never want my son in this position, ever. If he becomes a father and gets a divorce, he's just as much of a parent. And I want to try to change the world around him, whether that's through family court, whether it's through divorce coaching, support groups, all the things. I want a better future for him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amen to that.
Definitely.
I'm right there with you. On that. And I think a lot of women, they're in those exact same shoes. And I'm sorry, every woman, kids or not, boys or not, you should be in those exact same shoes. You should be thinking about this.
Exactly. Don't put your kids through this. Don't show your kids that this is the right way, whether they're girls, whether they're boys, whether they're going to have kids when they grow up, whether they're not. Don't put them through this. Show them a better way. I mean, if you're a parent, we do that. That's what we do. We want our kids not to grow up and be like us. We want our kids to grow up and be better than us. Show them how to do that. And this is how you start.
Definitely. Yeah. Good parenting. Good words to end on. I don't think we have another question right now. I really appreciate the time today, Courtney. When is your event coming up? You have this thing coming up here, like,
I just need to, sorry.
Bury the hatchet in each other.
Bury the hatchet and leave the handle sticking out. That's how that goes.
Right.
You know that? Bury the hatchet.
Do that.
Leave the handle sticking out.
Yeah,
Let's see.
still not safe.
Okay, and on that note,
That's what moms and
tell us about
dads do.
what's the divorce coach thing you have coming up. I know enough to be dangerous, and so I'd rather have you just be like clear about it.
Yeah, no, that's great. So it's Divorce Coaches Academy. So that's where I got my conflict certification from. They also have divorce coach training. They're offering a Save Your Sanity Summit. So it's free. There are VIP options where you can get access to the recordings and things like that, but you can log on. It's April 22nd through the 26th. There are 25 divorce professionals across the 5 days. We all have talks that we share about various topics and things like that. Mine is on the 26th at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I talk about co-parenting, healing, parallel parenting. I go a little more in depth into the fight or flight response, things like that. So just, I mean, a plethora of knowledge over 5 days. Like I am so excited to join some of the talks myself, listen to Q&A panel with some divorce professionals. So sign on. You can go to my Facebook page or my Instagram page or Divorce Coaches Academy page, and you can see all of the details with links on how to get there.
Yeah, what are the dates again?
April 22nd to the 26th.
Awesome. And Joseph, you got a question, my friend. Let's hear it. What is your question? Let's put it up there and get it answered. So I'm going to be on there. I'm looking forward to going and listening to this divorce coaching stuff. You know what? I anticipate that I pass the bar exam this time, and then I'm going to be a lawyer then this summer. And I plan on taking the Black Hills by storm and being something completely different than what they've experienced here in the past. And I've done like conscious parenting and I do life coaching. I coach people through life coaching stuff. And so like I intend to bring that into my law practice and how I work with my clients and stuff. And so I am looking forward to using this and then learning about divorce coaching because it's so impactful. And I don't want to take all my clients' money. Like I gave all my money away to my lawyer and it sucked. And I don't want to do that. Like my goal is not to take all your money. My goal is to just get you through this thing in the most intact way I can and then move forward and help somebody else, and not have this be like I don't need to have 100 clients that I sit there and I bill all the time. Like my goal is to get you through this thing, move you on and take care of the next family. Cause there's unfortunately we live in a world where there's gonna be more families. If you change all the laws, what are you gonna do for a job? And I was like, Mom, people are still gonna get divorced and be jacked up. Like bad things are going to happen. I'm going to be just fine. It's not a problem. If I get all the laws changed, totally okay. So, all right. Sorry, Joseph, you did have a question. I was asking, is it hard to go through discovery without an attorney?
Yes.
I say no.
Okay. Well, let's hear both. So, why would you say yes, Dr. Courtney?
Because there are certain, so it's probably harder in some states than others. Let me preface it with that. But there are certain laws that in order to get certain things to be admissible, in order for certain things to be looked at by the judge, you have to follow certain policies, procedures, things like that. If you're not well versed in the legal realm, that can be really difficult. And if the other person has an attorney, then that attorney knows how to get all your stuff thrown out. Now, if both of you don't have attorneys and you are well versed and you feel pretty good about it, then go with what Alicia said and say, no, it's probably not that difficult. But yeah, if you have books, if you use Zach as a resource, no, it probably wouldn't be that hard. But if the other person has an attorney, that adds a layer because they will get a lot of your stuff thrown out.
The other lawyers have these books and they have them like memorized. These books are extremely important. And if you don't know these things,
Zach,
this is something that they have that they know.
My butt.
I got it pretty good.
Hold on. I need a recess.
Okay. I need to Google really quickly.
These are like pretty
that's what
pretty important books for lawyers.
Yes.
That might be what they do.
Attorneys. And I know like two that probably don't. That probably are well versed. I'm just.
Why would you say it's easy then? I guess go for it.
Okay, so I think about discovery. I think of financials mostly in discovery. Okay,
Mhm.
so get the right ones. The rules for your state, like the book Zach was holding up, they're online. And you could just maybe ask an online forum what kind of document you need for whatever they're requesting. I would think
Well,
most of the
and how do you
time,
know what to
yes, I
ask
get
yourself, right?
discovery
Like,
can be like
Yeah.
so it seems like wow, but I don't think they use most of it most of the time.
They
That's just
don't.
how I feel.
They use backhanded rules. And I mean, like where we are, it's a small area. And I mean, the lawyers know the judges and they go golfing and hunting and fishing together. So again, if your other person has an attorney and they're BFFs with the judge, I mean, doesn't matter how well versed you are, what books you've memorized, you're
Yeah,
you're up against corruption. And
yeah.
that can
Most
be maybe
most people,
difficult.
I think,
corruption experience. I
on
mean,
Discovery, if you're like a millionaire, I mean that's one thing. But if you're just a normal Joe like myself, you're making copies of your big statements and text messages and this or this or that. That's what I think about for discovery. And so I think if you just research it enough and provide what you can, sometimes that's all you can do. I mean, you can
well,
do
and
it. You
you
can.
got to you got to know what it is you're trying to get and how you're going to win your case. Like, you got
Yeah.
to be a look at your case. And the problem with you yourself as a future attorney, and also one that hired an attorney, even though I thought they sucked, and why I went to law school, um, was because it is to know the right questions to remove your emotional uh, take on and stuff. It's like if you watch the show Suits, right? In Suits, they do these mock trials in these court in these things because these people are intimately involved in all the corruption shit they're doing, which is crazy to watch. But they're intimately involved, and so
Preach.
their hearts and their energies into this stuff. And if you can't be impartial, you're going to get destroyed. And when
Yes.
you're out there doing this stuff to yourself, you're going to be in trouble. And when you're in there running with your heart and not going, you know what? I fucked up in this spot. I made a bad choice. This is going to hurt me. How do I mitigate this damage that I'm going to cause myself? But you're focused on, they messed up in this spot. Well, what? If that person thinks what you messed up is worse, that judge takes their story over your story, you're in trouble. You're in trouble.
Yeah.
And how are you going to mitigate that? How are you going to look at all the faults that you have and recognize those things and mitigate them? You need to be able to sit down, really analyze the story of your trial and what it's going to look like. And an attorney is supposed to be trained in that stuff. Our attorneys are like doctors, right? Like they're very educated people. They've read a lot of books. Like, I've read way too many freaking books, and they have put themselves through this hard process. Most of these people that are attorneys are freaking dorks. Let's just be honest. Like, these guys are book
Yeah.
dorks, and they're like really educated. They have zero people skills. I mean, they don't have good people skills. They're assholes to each other because they don't even know how to have real conversations with another person who they have a disagreement with because they don't know how to do that. You know what? I'm going to send over this thing. I'm going to type this up. I'm going to make them do all this extra work because that's how people who don't have good people skills do things. And attorneys fall in that category a lot, just like doctors. You meet a doctor and you're like,
Yeah.
that guy was a freaking, like, what was going on? Like, was he even in the room with me when I was sitting there? Like, I felt like he didn't hear a word that I said the whole entire time. And because he's a book guy and he memorized all these codes and stuff, like, I know all the codes. Well, great, dude. Oh, you know every muscle in the body. That's awesome. I only need you to talk about, like, my eardrum. Like, wow, who cares
Yeah.
if you can name off all the things in my ankle? Um,
A
and
podcast the other day where somebody said, trust your attorney fully, wholeheartedly, 100%. Trust everything your attorney does, just like you would a doctor. And I stopped like dead in my tracks watching it and was like, this has to be satire. I don't trust, I'm in the medical field. I don't trust my doctor blindly and wholeheartedly. They're
I was
human,
just
they're
gonna say that out
fallible.
loud, and then I remembered you're a nurse. I'm
right,
like, wait, maybe I shouldn't say that, but you're
No,
right.
I'm 100% in agreement. No, and I typed something on something today. Trust God. All others bring data. Like I'm not. they're humans. Doctors and attorneys are humans. They're fallible people. They're biased people. They can miss
Right.
things. Like, you shouldn't put your wholehearted trust into an attorney or a doctor. And,
Right. Trust and
do
verify.
exactly, do your research, because at the end of the day, and this is a big piece a lot of people miss, your story is yours. You're paying that attorney. This is yours to guide the way you want to guide it. You are in charge of how this goes. And a lot of times, attorneys try to take that power and that control away from you, but you're in charge of it. Just like you're in charge of your own health, you're not going to go to a doctor and be like, hey, I'm having a blood pressure problem. And they like tell you need to have knee surgery. Like, no, one's not connected to the other. You're going to do your research and you're going to show up and say, hey, this is what I found, or these are what my symptoms are. You have to kind of approach your divorce with the same way. You can't wholeheartedly put all your trust in an attorney or yourself. And that's, again, why I said in the beginning, having an attorney, a coach, a therapist, you need a team of people around you. Just like when you're sick, you have a team of doctors, specialists, nurses. You need that same team when you go through a divorce. And like
Hopefully
I said,
you can just get through with a coach, man. That would be
some can. I mean, I have a handful of clients who I have coached through their entire divorce. They didn't have to have an attorney. The problem is people don't know about coaches. So by the time they get to us, they've already consulted and or paid an attorney. And then they're like, well, crap, I didn't really need one. And I'm like, no, but now you have one. And let's just see if we can keep the billable hours to a minimum. But they just don't know. I mean, like I said, when I went through my divorce, the first thing I did, and we started talking about it, I was like, I need an attorney. Let me Google an attorney.
And that's what everybody says, right? Like, I need to get an attorney. Like, everybody's advice is go get an attorney. If they're, you're getting divorced, you moved out of your ex's house, well, and you're not going to get together again, go get an attorney. And it's everybody's first advice. I'm not being an attorney. Call me. But for the most part, you don't want to call an attorney. They don't have the skills. Like I've taken life coaching skills. I've taken conscious parenting courses. I am an instructor of those things. That makes me on a different level than I would be with other people and stuff.
On a different level, though, that I've noticed.
What?
You went through the ringer before you became an attorney. A lot of times attorneys, if they go through their own divorces, they're already an attorney when they go through the divorce. So they haven't actually been through it. They don't come to the table with the background, the experience, the knowledge, the trauma. They don't come to the table with that. You do.
Right. Definitely.
And the good attorneys that exist, that's why they're good. Whether it's something they experienced in childhood or it's something they experienced as an adult in some form. That is the reason they're good.
Absolutely.
The ones who just snake.
Definitely.
That's with really anything. I mean, even as becoming a nurse, I mean, the more experience I got, the better I got. As I was a patient for different things, as my family members were patients for different things, I was like, oh, I could do that differently because now I know what being on the other side feels like.
Right.
So Zach, that really makes you specially equipped because you've been through it. That's the same thing for a lot of the coaches, including myself. We've been through it. So we have, we have the experience. We're in our bag, in our toolbox to help you.
Completely agree. No, I think what you're doing is amazing. I'm looking forward. I'm gonna be tuning in. I'm definitely gonna be on that group because I'm looking forward to hearing more discussions about how we can use more coaching involved in handling divorces and making it a safer, more just a kinder place where people can go their separate ways without like destroying each other and their whole entire family and all their financial beings. So we're gonna do it again. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm on board.
Dope. I had a great time today, so I really appreciate you coming on here. It was fantastic to get to hear you talk, and it was so powerful, the message. I'm looking forward to what we can do with Opus Pro and breaking down this dialogue and putting it out there. So I
have a show on false allegations. I want to be on it. That's a huge.
I do want to do it.
Passion of mine.
So maybe we need to get one together. Dean Tong and I have been talking, and so I'm gonna try to get Dean Tong on. I love freaking Dean Tong, and so I want to get Dean Tong on here, and we've discussed it. So maybe we can do a little panel.
10 people.
We could. I haven't talked about Ashish Joshi, but I
Good
definitely would
thought.
love to get Ashish Joshi on here with that also. That would be a heck of a good discussion. A panel discussion would be massive. So, um, anyways, I really appreciate it. It was fantastic. I look forward to seeing what you do at the end of this month. And if I can be of any help for you, I would love to do that. And we're going to get all your stuff out there. Everybody, if you're on here, we're going to put all of Dr. Courtney's things on all the different socials so that you can find her. And she's active. So if you go on any of these pages that we're on, she's on there commenting and being involved in the community. And so hit her up, go find her, send her a message, and get some
Yeah.
support. So, and otherwise, appreciate you, Dr. Courtney, and hope you have a wonderful night.
I hope you
Thank
guys
you
do
so
too.
much.
Thanks for having me.
We will. See you later.
Bye.
My pleasure.
That was awesome. Okay. I have a tow truck coming in. I'm getting out of
There's too
here.
much cheering. It was the applause. I couldn't hear
I'm
you.
sorry. It was so good. It was so good. So, I'm gonna.
Man,
What?
I wish I
I
had
bet you
her
would too.
around.
I mean, wouldn't that have been great?
Just
What's
somebody
up,
to like
Alex?
slap you.
Just to
You
be
know,
kind and nice and like, how do you do this stuff in a better way? But the hard part, would your ex have allowed it to happen?
kind of nice. It's hard to say because I don't know. It's hard to say. It was like 2 years, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Of litigation. I mean, I went through a. Have you ever been, um, what's the word? Deposed? A
I
deposition?
have. Twice. I was deposed 2 weeks ago.
Oh, well. Oh. Either way, on video, I had to do a deposition like on video. You're on the phone, you're not even listening to me. Anyway, I went through a lot. And she would have been great to have around. Just anybody when you're going through this to be around to slap you upside the face or in the head and just set you on the straight and narrow as to what's actually best would be pretty incredible. And Zach's frozen. He's talking on the phone. So it's cool. It's fine. This is my show now. Let's jam. Oh, my music's not playing. Boop.
Um,
Nothing's happening. I don't know what's
so
happening.
I thought it was so good. I set up a tow truck to come pick up my to help my other car get a flat tire fixed and get it running again. Because anyways, long story. Um, and we went longer than I thought, and so I missed the tow truck, and they called me like 17 times,
Oh,
and I sent them a text, and
way.
I was like, anyways, way too much information. You know what? It was such a good discussion with Dr. Courtney. I mean, we could probably talk for another hour, and we have so many more topics to do. But I do want to spend some time with you. In the next week or two, we have got to do a parallel parenting, co-parenting show. You and I,
Well,
co-parenting.
I mean, we kind of just
We
did
did
a
tonight.
little bit.
No, I want like a real dedicated one where we talk about the pros and cons, and we get into co-parenting, we get into shared parenting, parallel parenting, and what that all means, and how to do it in a good way. How do you parallel parent and make it be good? How do you co-parent with somebody and make it be good? And what are the cons? Like, what are the hard parts about co-parenting and stuff? Sean, we love you, man. And dude, it is way past your bedtime, bro. Your cats are probably not happy. I love you.
I can't get my
um,
music to
so
turn
I
back on. I'm kind of sad.
Feed with the Sharks, man. Young
I'm
Solomon, go
trying.
check him out. He's real powerful. You know what? I can probably put it
Zach
on mine.
says
Let's
it's
see.
our theme song now.
It's our
I got
theme song.
permission, so
I
boom.
talked to him about it. Is it
You
playing?
said you did.
I did.
Why
Yeah,
isn't it
I talked
playing,
to him like
dude?
10 times today. So he's a super cool guy. He's from California. Like the man is real passionate, real focused, and he makes stuff happen. I can't hear it.
I know. Oh, such a.
I
I'm
like
gonna
I like
get
that
this stuff
we
muted.
end our lives end as a blooper reel. Like, what is going on right now? Do we have any
The
clue what's
mute
happening?
button. The mute
Mm,
button.
mute it
Hold
up.
on,
That's a
y'all.
all right. So,
Don't go
one last
anywhere
time,
yet. What?
"Feed with the Sharks" by Young Solomon. We're gonna start it up and end it that way.
I'll start it over. Good grief. Freaking mute button. It's gigantic. It's red. It's easy. I just can't seem to see it.
We're making a music video with this for
Have
my
a great show.
son, and we're gonna give it to him.
Everybody's dropping out. Boop, boop, boop,
It's
boop,
all
boop,
right.
boop.
"Feed with the Sharks, baby. Feed with the Sharks." Young Solomon.
How loud is it?
It's not loud.
Is it too loud? You can
No, I
hear
can hear myself
me
over
and
top
what?
of it.
You
Yeah,
can?
I can hear you totally. Yeah, I think it's fantastic. So keep on reaching the skies.
Matt says
Mm.
co-parenting is so much about using the mute button.
Yes, it
Yes, it is.
is. I mean,
All right.
hey,
I'm getting
Alicia,
out of here.
I want you to know I appreciate you and I love our
I
friendship and
can't
I
hear
love
you.
this
The music's
show
too loud.
and that's all right. You can't go wrong with this song. Just keep jamming to this thing. Gets me pumped up. I'm gonna go out there and do
What
more
were you
stuff
saying?
right
I
now. I'm
turned
gonna
it
do
down.
some more work. I'm gonna go do some more work. I just want to let you know that I appreciate you. I
I
love what we're
appreciate
doing
you.
here at the
Thanks for having
show,
my
and
back
it's
there, by the way.
really turning great out. Yeah, I always got your back. We
I
did this
didn't even
show
notice.
for a reason. I know you didn't notice. It didn't matter. I have you, and we are a team, and we're gonna make this stuff happen together. And what we bring to this is something that no one else has seen before, and the power right there. Yeah, go Pokes. So I love Wyoming. Anyways, I only live like an hour and a half from Wyoming right now, so it's not that far. I'm
All
full
right.
blooded Wyoming. So, um, but Young Solomon, check it out, guys. Feed with the Sharks. Let him know.
Except it's
He's a
not
great guy.
spelt. Spelt? Spelled? Spelt? Is it spelt?
Spelled.
Spelled?
No, I think it's spelled. Yeah,
Spelled? Where'd
I'm not a
spelt come from?
mathematician. I don't know. Spilt
It's
milk,
like
maybe, or it's YNG.
YNG.
Yes,
Solomon.
it's just don't
It's
use
not young
any
as the
vowels
word.
now anymore. Yes, it's
Okay.
young without like vowels because we don't vowels are so 2011. Yeah,
That's right. All right.
we don't use vowels. So, anyways,
I'm getting out of
Young
here.
Solomon, Feed with the Sharks. See you next week. We got Jeff Millar. No, Emma. Next week we're gonna have Emma Johnson on, and then Jeff's gonna be on the week after that. Emma Johnson. She
Immigrant?
just wrote she's a wealthy single mother, and She's a shared parenting book writer, believer, advocate, and she's amazing. One of my good friends. I love talking to her. Every time I talk to her, she's incredible, and she's gonna be a great show next week. So tune in next week. Emma's gonna be fantastic, and I'm getting a call from a toe man.